here we go. Okay, so what I want to emphasize today is the importance of decisiveness. I'd say, Joshua, one of the reasons that my business has been a success, where I've been able to support my wife and pay the mortgage for all these years as an independent grant writer. One of my secrets of success is the high speed that I work at. And one of the ways I create high speed is by trying to make as much of my work as possible into a habit. Because then if it's a habit, I can be decisive. I don't have to think about it each time. And so one of the things I do to create effective habits for myself is by using checklists, so that way I don't forget something. Because I'm also kind of like your college professors. I'm absent-minded. I really do. It's like I'll forget something, and it's like I don't even, it doesn't even faze me that I've forgotten it, and it can be important. So one of the ways we do speed things up here is by being decisive, and we become decisive by having good habits. Okay, the first thing we have to do is we have to engage the client. Now, all this material, Joshua, I'm going to give you access to in Dropbox. We have a folder called Writers Resources, and then we have something called Step-by-Step Guidelines for Grant Writers. And within that folder, you'll see an exact, like a cookbook, a step-by-step list of these steps. So the first thing we do is I'll contact you. I'll give you the contact information for the client, and I'll also let the client know ahead of time that you're going to be contacting them. So then we ask you to send an email to them, and then provide them with 3 key documents that they need to fill out or follow in order to collect the proper information that we need to write a grant. Those 3 documents are the client intake form. This is where they write down their email addresses, their website, the street address they want to use. It's just like if you go to a doctor's office, they always make you fill out this form. Well, this is our version of the doctor's office form. We also have a pre-work checklist, and what I found is it really slows things down if you're right before the grant deadline, and then you need all these documents like a budget or the IRS determination letter or a current list of the board members. All that stuff will just drive you nuts. And these people, they all have these documents, but they're scattered. Like the executive director has some, and then the accountant has some, and the grant writer has some. And it just drives me nuts if I can't get access to these things immediately. So that's why I ask them up front, early in the process to collect these. But what we have in Writers Resources is we have this whole PDF document that shows exactly what we need from them. Okay, and then the next thing is we ask them to fill out the project innovator form. And this is where we require them basically to tell us the exact nature of the project they want us to get grant funding for. And Josh, I don't know if you've seen this in your business, but sometimes the client will change their mind. It's like they'll ask you for one thing, or you'll feel like you see eye to eye with them, and then a month later they've suddenly got a different idea. The thing is that can be very frustrating, and especially working with associate grant writers and myself and the proofreader, it can really disrupt things if the client changes their mind. So the project innovator form's deceptive because it's actually crucial to the workings of our entire business, even though the client may not totally realize that. Okay, to give you a practical view, this is what the client intake form looks like. And it does include some esoteric things like their DUNS number. If they do government grants, they should have a sam.gov number. They should have a special grants.gov number as well. So that shows you what we're looking for here. This is what the pre-work sheet looks like. And what we've done is we've listed just about everything that we are asking for from them. So we want their determination letter. Some people want to know the state level nonprofit letter, which is the California Franchise Tax Board letter. We'd like to get their most recent IRS tax return, board members. This one is very important to me. I really want to see resumes from them. And what I've found is typically they have a resume, but it doesn't even include their current job at their current charity, right? Because the only reason you have a resume is when you're looking for a job. So this is actually one of my secrets of success is once we have their resume, we can revise it so that it's a better match with the grant requirements, or it's a better match with the winning theme that we've developed for the charity. And I think a lot of the people who review grants don't realize that the resumes can be adapted and made to be almost as powerful as a persuasive document as the grant itself. We do like their current budget. A lot of them don't have an audited financial statement, but if they do, that's a huge advantage. We need a list of previous donors. This is sometimes a sticking point with our clients that they're afraid to give us their list of donors, especially the large individual donors. So sometimes we have to hold their hand there a little and explain that this is all private, that the funder is not going to exploit this or take advantage of it. But sometimes we just have to give up. They refuse to provide that information, even though it's in their best interest. We do ask for a diversity, equity, and inclusion statement. A lot of the funders are asking for that. If they don't have one, we can create one for them. And then they can make that part of their system. Oh, this is impossible to read, but this is what the project innovator form looks like. One of the problems I have with this form is you see how there's this yellow bar? They'll write inside the yellow bar where they're supposed to write down here in the white part. And it's just, I don't know, it just drives me nuts. So if you have a moment, you can tell them to write in the white area and not the yellow area. The project innovator form, again, deceptively simple, but what it's done, it's meant to force them to identify a specific project. Ironically, it's also meant for them to have an internal conflict about which project they want to commit to. So it's better for us for them to have their behind the scenes power struggle right up front as they fill out this form. Josh likes this, rather than for that power struggle to rear its ugly head while we're in the middle of writing their grant. So they don't realize this. I usually don't say anything about it, but it is meant to force a consensus within the agency so that a lack of consensus doesn't end up hurting us. It's also designed in such a way to focus their minds on what are the benefits to their department or themselves, to their organization, to the people they serve, to the larger community. And part of this is we want to get them excited about working with us by reminding them of all the multiple good things that are going to happen by cooperating with us to work on the grant process. Too often when people hire us, they just want to, I don't know, they want us to do everything. And I'm happy to do that sometimes, but the thing is, we're going to do our best work the more the more interaction we have with the client, the more we learn them, the more we get accurate, the more they're truthful about exactly what they want to do, they're more likely to win the grant. So it's important for us to keep them motivated and fired up. We also ask them if they have any ideas or where to go for money. And we ask them to tell us a story about an ideal client. And we do that again on purpose because sometimes for reviewers, it's hard for them to grasp what the charity does. But if you tell them a story about an individual, it's a lot easier for them to hone in on what we're doing. Okay. Now, the other thing I'm going to be doing, Joshua, is I'm going to give you access to our Dropbox. You may need to buy a larger version of Dropbox, and Trish and I are happy. We'll send you a check to cover that. But everything we do here is with the Dropbox software. So one of your big chores as an associate grant writer is when you get a new client, you need to set up their filing system within Dropbox. And basically, this means you go into Dropbox, you go into the portion called LOIs and grant applications, and then you create one folder with the name of the organization. So for example, Patrick and I just got done with talking with Sentinels of Freedom. So we create one folder with the name of the organization, Sentinels of Freedom, and then we create 4 folders within that folder. Oh, and also, Joshua, this PowerPoint is available in that Writers Resources folder, as well as previous recorded sessions. So you can always watch those recorded sessions again if you wish, or you can just open up the PowerPoint, or you can follow the directions on the to-do list here. So we ask you to set up 4 folders. One is a work folder. Oh, and we want it to look exactly like this with the numeral at the beginning. And then it says work, administration, reference, and personal information. Okay. Now what you see here is an example of how the Dropbox looks. And you can see up here, it says Amazon Research Center. That's the client folder. And then within it, we have the work folder, administration, research, and personnel. So after you have everything set up in Dropbox, it should look exactly like this. And this, again, this is where I start getting picky, because if I'm in an emergency situation, it comforts me to see everything in this format. And then over time, I need you to learn exactly what goes into each of these folders. So for example, all the writing work, all the letters of inquiry, online proposals, model proposals, full proposals, all goes into the work folder. Administration includes our monthly reporting. If we have contract issues with them, we put that under administrative. Research includes like all of the collateral material we collect from the funder, all those things on that pre-worksheet list of all the documents we need from them. All of that goes into this research folder. In personal, I don't know, I'm superstitious about getting rid of that for some reason. But if the person mentions their birthday, or they have a hobby, or they have a website they want us to check out, anything of a personal nature, I want to put it in this folder. And it really does help. The more we get to know these people, the more likely they are to stick with us as clients and become a long-term client for us. Okay. Your next task over here is to set up a project kickoff meeting. And this has been one of the best things that we've ever done. Is we like to have about a 1-hour meeting with the client where we all kind of get to meet face to face on Zoom, and we can start building a good rapport with them. And so one of your tasks is to go ahead and set that meeting up with them. Okay, so we need to, I don't like it when they have us work with multiple people because it really slows me down and gets on my nerves. So I typically, I've sort of forced them during the contracting phase of the relationship to pick one person who's going to be our point of contact. So when you deal with the charity, you don't have to hunt down the executive director or the treasurer, or, that's their job. They're going to pick one person on their staff, usually a program manager, and that's going to be, we're going to try to make that's the only person we deal with at their charity, because, otherwise it just becomes unmanageable. So you usually email your point of contact, tell them that you need a time, and usually we do those meetings on Zoom. Now here's my situation. You don't know this about me yet, Josh, but I did not have a normal sleep pattern. I work like up till 4 or 5 in the morning, and then I sleep during the day. And as God is my witness, I've tried to change that. I've tried to be more disciplined, and it's been a 40-year habit that I've been unable to break, and it's harmed my business. But what I'm doing now is I'm just doing harm reduction, and what I'm trying to do is organize my time with the clients so that I meet with them either a Tuesday or Thursday, and I have here late morning or early afternoon. But frankly, early afternoon is my best time because I'm usually awake and I'm fresh and I can deal with them. But if I have to, I have the discipline. I can wake myself up for an early morning meeting, and if they absolutely insist on it, I'll do it. But the thing is, after I'm done, I'll go right back to sleep. So I know this is probably too much information, Josh, but I got to be honest with you up front that I need you guys to cover for me on that thing, because and I've given up. I can't help. I can't seem to fix it. Okay, we want to schedule the meeting at least 4 days in advance. I like to have you invite people to the meeting using an Outlook invitation, although you can use a Google Calendar invite. It doesn't matter to me, but I like to have a formal invitation. These meetings, I've done a conference call in maybe 5 years or so. So, looks like my internet connection might get a little iffy. I really don't like to go to a meeting unless I have an agenda, because I hate wasting time at meetings. So we want to make sure everybody gets a copy of the agenda, resource lines for grant writers. Okay. Now, here's where I guess I'm repeating myself, but I want to talk about where we store the funders information. Okay. Now, once we get the project innovator form, I asked Trish, my wife, to go to the foundation directory online, research the most likely funders, and then store printouts of those funders into the client's reference folder. I think I don't know. I think Patrick's done his own grant research. I know Scott has done his own grant research. That wasn't part of my original intent. I originally, but sometimes it just seems to work out better. And as long as you guys don't mind, I'm happy to give you access to the foundation directory online. And sometimes it's just faster for you to pull it up or cut and paste from what you find there. But ideally, I'd like to have you guys focused 100% on writing. And then I'd like to have Trish or whoever else we hired to do the research to be focused on the research. But I'm happy to share that resource. Okay, then this ain't usually, and I just like you to paste the name of each funder. Patrick, we're not doing Sentinels of Freedom, and the reason is they're a high volume client, and we're keeping track of them in the Salesforce database. But ideally, I like to have all you guys set up on Salesforce, but it's very expensive for me to add somebody to it. So I've only got like 4 licenses for Salesforce. Okay, hold on. Okay, again, the funder folder should be in the reference folder. And I don't like it when the names of the funders or their information is scattered in different areas, because that can really embarrass me in front of the client. Because if they're anxious and they're calling me and they want to know about a funder, I need to be able to go right to the reference folder and then right to the funder folder and then pull up those the funder contact sheet, so I get the information. But it looks really cool when it goes right, because it shows the client that we're extremely organized. We don't drop anything, and they know that they, we're like surgeons. They know that they can trust us. Okay, now this is the biggest secret of success that I have with our consulting practice. And what we do, it's called a product positioning form. And Josh, I'll just say they didn't teach you this at you.
John, I think you completely froze out.
Doc, we're not hearing you at all.
Yeah.
And your online picture is frozen.
Yeah, if it's lagging, John, you can turn off your camera and just keep going. Sometimes the video can mess with your connection. Oh, I lost him. I'll be back.
That's okay.
Oh, yeah, he'll be back. He's the host. Hey, there he is, or at least his picture. There, okay, there's his smiling face. Welcome back. Okay. Yeah, you froze and your audio dropped a few times, so we're catching up.
Okay, well, here's what goes into the product positioning statement. And sometimes we don't share this with the client because some of this information is embarrassing. So this is, no matter what, this is what you and I go over. We're going to list the positive things about the client, negative things about them. We're going to identify their biggest competitor, and we're going to write down the positive things about their competitor and the negative things about their competitor. Did I lose you guys?
No, I was actually, do you mind if I ask a quick question though?
Yeah, like, go ahead, Josh, go ahead.
Do we, is it a specific competitor, like some, like the biggest nonprofit doing work in that particular field, or is it, somebody that's local that competes against them at the population level that they're serving? how do we identify their competitor?
The way I think about it is the competitor is the person who's also applying for a grant to that particular funder. So that's the rule. Who else will be asking for money from that particular funder? Most often it's not the national level charity that's competing at the local area for the funder's money. It's usually the local chapter of the national charity. And one of the things you'll find as you do more grant writing is whatever market we're working in, there's usually a top 20 funders who provide 80% of all the grants in that area. So typically, we're going to be working with the same funders each time. And we can also use our Foundation Center research to identify who else has been receiving money from that funder. So in some ways, we don't have to guess. We can use the database to figure out who they're competing against. I would say in general, the competitor is usually the largest charity in their market area and the oldest charity that they're competing against. Does that help, Josh?
Yeah, thank you.
Okay. So then what we do is we write down their strengths here, their weaknesses here, their competitors' strengths, competitors' weaknesses, and then we create a slogan that calls attention to their strengths, distracts from their weaknesses, distracts attentions from the competitor's strength, and subtly calls attention to the competitor's weaknesses. Oops.
Yeah.
Now,
sorry, the presentation is gone. The presentation has stopped been sharing, or at least it is for my screen.
Okay, here, let me get out of this, see what's going on. Oh, I know what's going on. I didn't share the screen. Okay. This will be fun to watch on videotape someday. We need somebody that could edit video coverage here. Okay, so let's go here. Okay, so what we'll do is we'll fill out this form, strengths of the agency, weaknesses, the competitor's strengths, competitor's weaknesses, and then we'll craft a message that calls attention to their strengths, distracts from their weaknesses, distracts from the strengths of the competitor, and calls attention to their weaknesses. And we do this, typically the larger organization is a little more jaded, less customer focused. They may be a little harsher on the client. Whereas our new charity that we're working with tends to be young, energetic. They tend to be a little more sophisticated with what they're doing because they're just out of school and they know the hottest, coolest techniques. They're also more likely to be willing to work in partnership with the funder. So we've got some themes that work for outsider insurgent charities that we use. Okay, so then once we've identified the funders, typically we have 3 different applications that we do. We have a letter of inquiry, a full proposal, and online applications. So I think you've seen this, Patrick and Scott, that basically all the work we do is one of those 3. And they are different. The letter of inquiry is about 2 pages. It has to be perfect and engaging, like a super powerful advertisement. The full proposals are closer to 10, 15 pages. I like to pack them with art, photos, charts, to use that information. The online applications are just a disaster. They're just horrible. But what we do is we create a master document, and then we cut and paste from that into the online applications. I don't know, Patrick, we may need you to teach a class on how to do online applications, because I'm not sure what you're doing, but you're doing like perfect work. It's Do you have a secret for how you're doing all these online applications?
Yeah, so a lot of funders have, depending on the application platform that they use, oftentimes will have an option to export your responses into a PDF, which is called a packet. And what you can do, the quickest way would be to convert that PDF to a Word doc. So all your information is transferable to a different file format. From there, you can edit the information, that like copy paste. That's the easiest, because to create a new document and type out all the questions is tedious. So, but not all online applications will have that function. So it's just a matter of what's available. So.
Okay, well, let's definitely talk about that online, because I've had a lot of stress dealing with the online applications, and a lot of people, they do their very best, but they're incomplete. And so you're doing something right, Patrick. So let's work on that. Okay, I'm sure we all have this experience that proofreading is surprisingly valuable. I mean, I've got documents where I think it's perfect. The client thinks it's perfect. Joshua, the writer, thinks it's perfect. And then the proofreader goes through it and finds an error on every single page. And I mean, I've had 3 PhDs go over a document and still miss typos right on the first page of the abstract of a federal grant. So,
I think you froze again, Doc. You're not moving. We're not hearing anything. Oh, he's left us again.
Yeah, when you mentioned video editing work, I don't
Yeah.
know how worthwhile it would be, but you could edit the Zoom. It has like in the web application, you can chop things up relatively easily.
Yeah, he frequently has to go and visit the mothership, so he'll be back.
Yeah. How'd you meet John, by the way?
Oh, many, many years ago, we were both involved with a variety of different situations, and our paths kept crossing, and he asked me to write a couple things for him, and he was intrigued by it, and said, "Hey, come and write for me." So been with him ever since, off and on, doing all kinds of different things. So yeah, we keep crossing paths infrequently. As you can tell, yeah, I'm as old as he is, a hoary head here of gray. So yep.
Nice. Sounds like he still has work for you to do.
Yeah, there's always something new or different or interesting or whatever. What about yourself? What's your background? What do you do?
So I actually, as John was talking to Patrick before you joined, I've been running my own small grant writing business as I go through school. I don't know if you heard, the UCs went on strike recently for higher pay for grad students. So they weren't paying us well to begin with.
Okay.
So I
Yeah.
needed to supplement income. And my brother-in-law actually like mentioned it, in passing one day. He was like, there's a sheriff in our department who only writes grants, and it's a pretty nice job. But obviously, I'm not trying to become a sheriff, but it took a couple months for me to put 2 and 2 together that this was something that I could do. So I've just been, consulting on the side. It's fun. I feel like if I had the practices that John is recommending in this presentation, I would have cut out a third of my clients, and it would have made the experience 10 times smoother for the other 2/3 of my clients. Yeah, I was laughing throughout the presentation because everything he was talking about, I've seen happen in meetings.
Yeah.
Yeah, part of the challenge is the clarification on what exactly grantors do, what's in our purview, and what's they think we do everything, and we don't.
No. Project management is a totally different beast. You can pay me for that, but that's a lot more expensive.
Well, John has some amazingly good and very efficient people working for him. I'm not one of them, but he does have some incredible people working for him that you can really learn a great deal from, just looking at what their written materials are and what they do and such. Hey, and look, he's back. I told him you frequently have to visit the mothership, so welcome back.
Oh, God, it's nice to see you guys having fun. So I'll just end it there that that basically we absolutely have to do the proofreading, and so it does hurt me with the client if you send a document to them and there's like even a minor error or we misspell somebody's name, the client sometimes blows that up into something that's pretty negative. So it's annoying, but it's one of those things that really does protect us to have the proofreading take place. Okay, any questions, Patrick or Scott or Joshua?
Nope.
Okay.
All of these, all the forms and everything are found on Dropbox, so we can easily grab them and